0141 951 1025. It's time to talk football. It's Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Good evening and welcome to Clyde One Super Scoreboard as we look back on another action-packed weekend in Scottish football. Rangers maintain their unbeaten league run and undefeated season against Celtic with a 4-1 win at Ibrox. It's heating up at the bottom after wins for Hamilton and Ross County, and maybe the race for third isn't as over as many predicted, with Aberdeen back in the hunt. I'm Gordon Duncan. Joining me tonight is Alex Ray and Hugh Keevans.
Yesterday at Ibrox signalled the end of an era for Celtic. Do it by the numbers, Gordon. 21 years since Celtic went through a season with no wins against Rangers. 14 years since they last lost to Rangers by a 3-goal margin. 23 points between the teams in the league table. 10 weeks without a permanent manager at Celtic Park. And the biggest rebuild in the club's history coming down the road. A shell of a club, I said on yesterday's programme. A shell of a club, I repeat this evening.
Yeah, it was an interesting weekend, Gordon. Accies give themselves a lifeline with a 2-1 win over St Mirren. Ross County pick up a massive 3 points at Dundee United, and Aberdeen give themselves a chink of light for third spot after a win over Livy. Hibs lost to informed St Johnstone, and Rangers extend their lead to 23 points after a 4-1 drubbing of Celtic.
Yeah, it's one of those nights we don't need to go searching for talking points. So let's hear from you. 0141 951 1025. Pick up the phone, let us know what is on your mind. It was an action-packed weekend. Obviously the big game in Glasgow yesterday. What did you make of that? Rangers fans, how happy are you? Celtic fans, it's the same old questions really. Where did it go wrong on the day? And what about that bigger picture? And of course, big stories everywhere else in the table as well. The battle for third, the relegation battle, it is all happening. So let's hear from you. 0141 951 1025. No Twitter, remember, still taking part in our social media blackout, in solidarity with those who are suffering online abuse of all forms. So we will be back on there tomorrow, but for tonight you're going to have to do it the old fashioned way. 0141 951 1025. Monday night though, awards time. What was your result of the weekend?
I'm going to go for Dundee United 0, Ross County 2. How tight is it down at the bottom there with Ross County, Killie and the Accies?
Yep, that could be the type of result that keeps you up. So no arguments there, Alex.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Accies, Gordon. Stone bottom, they had to get a positive result and managed to get a 2-1 win versus St Mirren. Very good performance by Brian Rice's boys.
Okay, goal of the weekend then. There were some decent efforts. What one caught your eye?
I think I've been very generous with this one, because I forecast Rangers 3, Celtic 1, and then Defoe defied me. But it was a veteran's masterclass of a goal from Jermaine Defoe.
Okay,
I'm going to go for the Jet. I said the other day,
connoisseur's choice this weekend.
Gordon, absolutely outstanding. But every time I see this big guy, I'm really impressed. You know, he's got goals, his general play is brilliant, but the diagonal ball over to the far post, he's rifled a volley into the opposite end of the goal, and I thought it was an outstanding strike on his weaker foot. Referees,
goalies, strikers, managers, they're all in line for the howler of the week. You never know quite which way it's going to go.
Callum McGregor, second booking, therefore a red card. Sheer folly on his part.
Okay, Alex Ray, your howler?
Yeah, I'm going to go for young Porteous. Very good talent, Gordon, good prospects. However, you cannot play the ball across your 18-yard box, and ultimately it's cost his team 3 points.
Right, 0141 951 1025. Let's get stuck into some of the weekend's big talking points. Pick up that phone and talk to us. We would love to hear from you. We are here until 8 o'clock, so there is loads of time to do it. Let's set the scene, shall we? We'll start by hearing from the managers as they reacted to that 4-1 win for Rangers at Ibrox. We'll hear what they think, we'll hear what Hugh and Alex think, and then I want to hear what you think. So let's kick off with the home boss and the winning boss, Stephen Gerrard.
I'm really pleased with the performance. Obviously these derby games are about big moments, and you prepare for them and you do whatever you can to make sure that the big moments go your way. And we started the game really well. You know, we picked a real aggressive and bold shape today, and we wanted to really go for Celtic's throat, and we done that and took the lead. And unfortunately we were sloppy in terms of the equaliser, but then again it's us on the front foot forcing the issue again, and Alfredo scores a fantastic second. And when that was happening, there was obviously a big moment as well in terms of the red card, but it was the right call. So we've worked extremely hard for this victory. from start to finish, and we certainly deserved the 3 points, which are important to us. 7 days ago, sitting here really stung and hurt that we missed a big opportunity. But in terms of the league, I can't ask the players for any more. The consistency levels have been incredible. Everyone's been all in and contributed in their own way. Some more than others, which is natural. But it's been a collective effort. The recruitment was key last year for us to improve and get better. And to manoeuvre the journey in terms of the league through a COVID's been a real good challenge, but the players deserve all the credit they've had and all the credit they get moving forward, because they're the ones that have gone out and produced the performances to get us to this point. There's 2 challenges left, and we want to go and try and finish as strong as we can.
Hugh, your general thoughts on the game yesterday?
Sum up Celtic's season. Callum McGregor, it's his fault he went off, and I do not read too much into that in terms of how the game finished. I think Rangers would have beaten Celtic anyway. I felt sorry for Scott Brown. I thought it was a sad ending to a magnificent career as Celtic captain. 14 terrific years, trophy laden years for him. I felt very sorry for him to be taken off after an hour. No way to end his time in that particular fixture. But I thought that Celtic were lacking all over the park. The rebuild is going to be enormous, and you look at Rangers and everything is fine with them on and off the park. Infrastructure correct, signings correct. Stephen Gerrard said their recruitment was key. Rangers brought in good players. Celtic, with a couple of honourable exceptions like Turnbull and Taylor, brought in bad players, and they are where they are. 23 points behind Rangers. No manager, no director of recruitment, and the Champions League qualifiers 11 weeks away.
Okay, let's bring in Harry in Maryhill, and I'm sure he's got some points that Alex will be interested in. Harry, what did you take away from yesterday?
Hi, Pan, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
What's it is, I've been listening over the past few weeks, right, and all the Rangers fans are saying Stephen Davis for player of the season. My opinion should be Alan McGregor, not just for yesterday's performance, but right through the full season. Guy's been outstanding.
Yeah, Alex, he had that flying one onto the bar from Eunice. A save so good that you have to double check to make sure he did touch it, and yet again.
Yeah, it was a remarkable save, Gordon, because for me he looked as if he was a little bit too far advanced. But to get that leap and for his fingertips onto the bar, it was a really important save at a crucial time within the game. I think McGregor's performance levels have been remarkable over the course of the season. I looked at Stephen Davis as well yesterday. I thought he was frightening, and I think it's important that they get the guys tied down, because they have been, over this course and distance, they have been the leaders throughout the spine of this team over the course of this season as well. And then you look at Tavernier's performances as well, Gordon. I thought he was back to his best yesterday. In general, the game, I thought Rangers managed it brilliantly. Glenn Kamara looked to be back to his best as well. I think the big key talking point was, we all knew that Simpson was going to come in, but Kmart Roof, we spoke about it on Saturday, and it was a correct decision, because he took his 2 goals brilliantly and his overall play was great. So the key players at Rangers, you look, even Ryan Kent was immense. So the front 3 from Rangers were on the front foot, whereas Celtic really struggled at times. They get into good opportunities and just couldn't capitalise again.
Just to back up what Harry's saying there on the line, Rangers are about to create all manner of records for least number of goals conceded over a league season. I'm not sure that they'll concede any more between now and the end of the season, the 2 games they have left, and much of that is down to Alan McGregor and terrific goalkeeping. I know he's got good defenders in front of him, but big games, big moments, he's a big player.
What else did you make of the game yesterday, Harry, and what does it say about the overall picture at the moment?
Well, it's telling me Celtic are struggling, isn't it? Everywhere. Not just in one position, all positions. Edward will be leaving. I think Steve Clark should be taking Alan McGregor and all.
Well, I suppose you could always ask the question, Hugh, Steve Clark, Alan McGregor. I think you've shown your hand on that before, but briefly. I
very, very briefly, I think that McGregor has had such a season and will want to go into next season absolutely fresh and ready for Champions League football. I don't think there's any hope of him going back on his decision to retire from international football. He does not need a European Championship final to get in the way of his summer relaxation.
Let's hear from Stephen, who's a Celtic fan, on the line. Thank you to Harry. Stephen, what's on your mind after yesterday?
Well, quite a lot. But first of all, for Hugh Keevins to give Callum McGregor the one of the
weekend,
the highlight of the week. The first one was never a booking, and anybody who tells me otherwise doesn't know football. Full stop. But more importantly, it's a bigger picture. I mean, Celtic.
Let's start there though, Stephen, because there's plenty of time. We'll go on to the bigger picture as well. What I think a lot of people, or some people, are debating the first one, but I think Hugh's point is, once you've been given that yellow card, regardless of whether you think it was right or not, you then have to behave accordingly. Do you not understand that? Like, Callum McGregor was on the booking. Why did he dive in? I think that was Hugh's point.
I think he mistimed it, but if you're telling me that the two tackles yesterday wanted a sending off, they're going to be finishing every game with 6 versus 6. I mean, it's just, what about the Rangers player not long after it? Brings right down the Celtic player, no even a booking.
Hugh?
Well, the first booking of the game was to a Rangers player, to Jack Simpson, for what some people thought was a reasonable challenge on Odsonne Edouard. For me, I thought Jack Simpson was a booking. I thought both Callum and McGregor bookings were justifiable bookings. And the point I made about the second one is that, and I used the expression sheer folly. It is sheer folly to do what he did and put himself at risk of the red card that he received.
I think when you administer the yellow card to Jack Simpson, I think you are then kind of showing the way that you're going to referee this game, Gordon. I thought it was a little bit early.
Most people thought that was soft, the Simpson one.
I did as well, Gordon. And you know how it works in this part of the world. As soon as you have set your stall out to book early, you then have to follow up with the next one. Callum McGregor clearly caught him late with a little bit of trickery through his legs, and at that point you just know that there's a tightrope to be had. I think what you was talking about there is Callum McGregor's a veteran of these games. Jack Simpson's a novice, and you're thinking to yourself, oof, if I was a Celtic player, you'd be saying to Edouard, get at him, try and get him to book you again, kick you so that you can get another booking. He managed to get through the game, whereas Callum McGregor dives in, and that is a real kind of surprise to me, because with his experience, is that I think that's what he was alluding to. It was naive at best.
Stephen, still not having it?
No, I mean, at the end of the day, it's everybody's opinion. Do you know what I mean? And I think you know yourself, Gordon. I'm not one that comes on here and starts. Everybody's entitled to opinion. Some people see some things one way, some see it the other way. Sure. That's fair enough. That's what it's all about. Mm-hmm. But the bigger picture, I can remember speaking to you after the first Old Firm game, and I came on the open line. I was the first person after the full-time whistle, and I says, for a Celtic manager to oversee a game at Parkhead where we don't have a single shot on goal, they shouldn't even see the press conference. Now, we're near enough at the end. That was near enough at the beginning of the season. We're near enough at the end of the season. And never mind plan B, the Celtic board has not got plan A in place. Now, if you ran a business the way the Celtic board have ran that football club this year, you wouldn't survive anything. It's absolutely shambolic. I mean, Lawwell's away. The new guy's in the door. He's done nothing. I mean, he had an opportunity to come in and announce everything and really get the fans behind him. The fans are wondering the team. I mean, we're talking about Odsonne Edouard. Doesn't want to be there.
Stephen, how does Dominic Mackay come in the door literally 1 week and announce something? He needs to surely identify a manager. You have to go through the interview process.
Anyway, you've got this wrong factually. Dominic Mackay does not take over officially until the 1st of July. He's there with Peter Lawwell at the moment. There are two chief execs in the building, but one of them does not take over officially until the 1st of July. So Dominic Mackay, on that basis alone, Stephen, cannot announce anything.
Stephen, you're obviously unhappy with the overall picture, as I think many of your fellow Celtic fans will be. Let's try and relate it loosely to yesterday. Did yesterday make you feel any worse about things, or were you already scunnered, to use the Glasgow expression, before then? Did it make any difference yesterday?
For the first time in my life, Gordon, couldn't care less about an Old Firm game. Could not care less. do you know what? I mean, there's two chief executives. One doesn't start the 1st of July. The other one stopped the 1st of July 2019. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, if you're telling me that there's no been interviews and Dominic Mackay's not been in place to do interviews been out for now, I mean, we're near enough with 2 games left to the end of the season.
Well, the understanding was
6 months ago.
Yeah, but the understanding was that Eddie Howe met Dermot Desmond more than a month ago, and it is now 10 weeks since Neil Lennon left the club. You're on about the governance of the club, and I think you're correct. I think Celtic, in the form of Peter Lawwell and Dermot Desmond, took far too long to acknowledge the fact that Neil Lennon wasn't going to get 10 in a row over the line. He should have gone months before he did, but they took no action at all. They were complacent, and throughout the season, any bad decision that could be made has been made. The ill-fated trip to Dubai, so on and so forth, the dreadful recruitment of players. It has been a shambles of a season, and again you're in a position where you ask yourself, if Eddie Howe is joining Celtic, why hasn't it happened by now?
Everything comes back to results on the pitch, Alex Ray, because Eddie Howe has been a story for weeks. The managerial vacancy has been a story for weeks. If you win the game yesterday, maybe the fans take one day off. They would have taken a day off on the phones, and they would have come on and said what was good about their team, and you get back to Eddie Howe later in the week. But a defeat like that, all it does is just puts the spotlight even brighter on what's happening next.
Yeah, we've got Stephen on the line here, kind of irate about the way the club's gone in the last year. That is personally down to the result yesterday. I think, he's saying that it doesn't really matter, he doesn't care, but that actually compounds what he's actually seen. So it did have a bearing on Stephen and guys like him. I think, as Hugh says, the reason why they brought Dominic Mackay in is to be part of this whole process, get up and running a lot quicker. Otherwise they would have waited to the 1st of July to bring him in. Celtic are playing catch up. They've got so much. I think out of the team yesterday, they would probably have about 5 guys are on the way out the door, Gordon, 5. And then you've got so many players coming into the last year of a contract. There's so much to be dealt with, and there's no movement, there's no communication. Now, if there's someone coming in the summer, if it's Eddie Howe, you could easily come out and appease the fans and go, we've came to an agreement with someone who's going to come in the summer. But there's still lack of communication. We said this with Neil Lennon at the time as well. Waited too long. And they've had months and months to identify a manager, and they still not got down to that.
Thank you to Stephen. These are John Kennedy's thoughts on parts of the game yesterday.
The boys showed character. We had to be, brave second half to take the ball. Again, it's easy to just kick the ball at the pitch and Rangers just keep coming after you, but we had to try and at times when we had possession make them run about, try and create and pull them open, and then attack them with a wee bit more space and the numbers to go and attack the box, which we did. But again, just Rangers in those key moments when they had the chances they took. It's not the end of the game. You still, get away in a strategy to try and get yourself one back in the game, and then give yourself the best shot going into the last part of the game that you're still in it. Now, we made that very difficult for ourselves. The fourth one, it's the last minute anyway. But we still had moments there where we could have even got it back to 3-2 and 10 minutes to go. We could have then had a bit of a go. So disappointed. Can't fault the players in terms of the effort and the way they worked, because it's very difficult when you're out there and you're having to work with a man less. But again, just key moments, as I've said for the last few weeks. Again, when you don't win, when you lose against your rivals, there's always frustration. I've been here long enough, I know how it operates, and that's the way it is. We've had loads of success, and it's probably going the other way this year. But it's went in Rangers' favour. We've not been good enough, and we've got to accept that and get on with it and try and fix it.
Keep your verdicts coming in then. 0141 951 1025. We'll also hear what John Kennedy had to say on the sending off of Callum McGregor. Some interesting comments on that, and you can hear them next.
You are the voice of Scottish football. Call 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Hugh Keevins and Alex Ray are here. We're here until 8 o'clock, so plenty of time to get your reaction in to yesterday's game at Ibrox or anything else from across the weekend. Let's do it. Let's go back and speak to Michael, who's a Celtic fan. How would you sum up your feelings after that game yesterday, Michael?
Gordon, I'm absolutely scunnered, my friend. Like I said, I knew that Rangers would beat Celtic yesterday, but no by that margin. I knew when Callum McGregor went off, I thought, no, Rangers are going to win about 3-0 here. And but that Christopher Ayer, the defending for him is absolutely diabolical. But obviously, I want to say about Neil Lennon. Neil Lennon wasn't obviously the problem, and I just think it's the players' attitude that stinks for me. There was no fight in them at all, Gordon. You know what I mean? And it's very, very sad to see, because it's heartbreaking for myself, because it's actually caused me a lot of anxiety, and I just think I think it's enough's enough now, and I think the Celtic supporters should not buy season tickets, should start protesting, because I think Dermot Desmond should leave the club as well, and because of their business skills, absolutely atrocious. No getting a manager in for 10 weeks. I also knew about that Nicky Hammond. I read about him, that his recruitment was poor when he was at West Ham and what have you. Now, I do really want to see. I don't know if Eddie Howe can do anything or he'll become the manager or what. But I would have liked to have seen Fergal Harkin, like I've said time and time before, about being the director of football. And I'd also like to see, I don't know who's manager, but I would like to see somebody come in and do what Martin O'Neill did when he bought big, decent players like your big Bo Baldys, your useful Harrens, Johan Yalbys and stuff like that, because you know what? Rangers are going to dominate for years.
Okay, let's start with some of the stuff from yesterday. Alex, I'll put that to you, and Hugh can do the bigger picture stuff. Michael didn't like the attitude, the desire. He threw Christopher Ayer's name in there. I assume what he meant by that was how he appears to duck under Morelos' shot. Are you looking for your centre half at that point to just take one in the face?
Yeah, well, listen, you've got to try and block the angle, Gordon, so you have to try and engage a little bit, make your body bigger. But for a player who's been apparently courted by English Premiership clubs, obviously being Norwich, who's just been promoted, that would be alarming for me. You know, you want your centre half to get there, take whatever it takes. It doesn't matter what part of the body it hits. You know, it stings for a couple of seconds, but to duck out of that in the manner what he did is because by actually ducking out at Gordon, he doesn't give the goalkeeper a chance because it's hit that quick. He can't react. So that was disappointing. And on the plus side for Ayer, he stepped forward a couple of times, which was great to watch.
You kind of see both sides of his game then yesterday, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Because there were loads of examples of him driving forward, but that big moment I know did annoy some Celtic fans. Yeah, well, listen, with your centre halves, you want him to defend first and foremost, Gordon. You know, there was a few balls come into the box as well. Kmar Roof has managed to. He obviously bullies Simpson for the equaliser. You know, he wins that at the back post, you know, which is easier to attack. But you've got to do it in your own box, Gordon, where it matters. I think that's been a key thing for Celtic this season. They've conceded goal after goal at set plays, and he's been pretty much in that centre half area throughout the course of this season. So I think defensively he's still got question marks for him. These are indivisible, Hugh. You've got instances within the game yesterday, but then the manager, the board, the recruitment, season tickets, you know, it's all getting mixed in together.
I'll address 3 points that Michael made there. First of all, no responsible media outlet would back the boycott of season tickets, because that's not what we're here to do. If fans don't want to buy a season ticket, that's their prerogative, but we can't advertise a boycott on season ticket sales. Secondly, with regard to Dermot Desmond, he put money into Celtic since 1994 when Fergus McCann took over the club. People may question his stewardship, and that's a perfectly legitimate tactic. However, before you say Dermot Desmond should go, you really need someone then who's interested in the 29% shareholding that Dermot Desmond has in Celtic. So we'll wait and see if that person exists. And finally, Michael says the Celtic fans should protest. They have. That's what the car park was all about in the early part of the season. And when the previous caller, Stephen, said that he wasn't bothered about the outcome of yesterday's match, for the first time in his life he didn't care. Apathy is a killer. That's worse, isn't it? Yeah. They were in the car park at the start of the season protesting. That stopped. The car park's quiet now. And if you are apathetic, even when Celtic are playing Rangers, that's not a good thing. Okay, Michael, thank you very much. Let's hear what John Kennedy had to say on that sending off of Callum McGregor. I know lots of you had thoughts on it. Here's what the interim Celtic boss thought. Disappointed with the result and the outcome of the game. Again, the red card's a decisive moment in terms of Rangers scoring at the same time as Callum being sent off. So also that swings the game in Rangers' favour.
and then we got ourselves back into it, and then again just in key moments defending our box we weren't strong enough, and then again when we did have our chances, which is always going to be hard to come by with 10 men, we just couldn't get a ball in the net. So kind of a bit of what we've been, but again made it all the harder because of the referee's decision on the red card. I think it's a bad decision, not the second one, the red card, because he's on a yellow and he makes a tackle on the ground, but I asked the referee for clarity at half time, why did you book him in the first and before that, why did you give him a yellow card? And his words to me exactly were, it was a reckless challenge. It wasn't reckless, I've seen it. It wasn't reckless. He's never been went to ground. There was no malice, there was no intent in the tackle in terms of any sort of power behind it. So I think, again, big game for a young official, who doesn't have a lot of experience, and he makes a very harsh call, which then costs us in the end. He's put himself in the firing line for so long. He's been a huge part of the club's success, and he will be going forward. And he's the most disappointed man at Ibrox today. But I feel for him because I don't think he deserved it. I don't think he deserved it. Certainly, okay, he makes a decision to go to the ground, which he'll learn from, but he shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. He shouldn't have had the yellow card.
Well, to reference Nick Walsh's age and his inexperience, John Kennedy was in the Celtic team at a very, very young age because he was good enough to play for Celtic, and Nick Walsh was reckoned to be good enough to handle that match yesterday. And all referees have to start with their first Old Firm game. Later on, if you have Willie Collum, Bobby Madden, whoever, you can then be criticised for your decisions, but not to be criticised in your first Old Firm game simply because it is your first Old Firm game. I think John, on reflection, shouldn't have made that particular comment. It comes into the category of the one he made about on their day Celtic are the best team in the league. I think a more experienced individual might not make comments like that, and I do, having said all that, feel sorry for John Kennedy. I think he's been a human firewall for Celtic for 10 weeks. He's been stuck up there while everyone else has disappeared until the heat dies down. I do feel sorry for him, but the comments about Nick Walsh, just forget it.
I've said earlier on, Gordon, I thought the first two bookings in the game were rather harsh in relation to Old Firm fixtures, but as I said, once he sets that tone, he can't then backtrack on that.
When you say the first two, you did think Cal McGregor's first was potentially a bit harsh
because of the way that the first booking was administered for Simpson, because I thought, is he booking people for that type of thing so early? So he'd already set the tone. He can't then not book the next guy when it's kind of similar. But I think in terms of Old Firm games, I think it's harsh. But I don't agree with the second one. It's as crystal clear as you're going to get. Gordon, he smashed him, he's dived, he's lunged, and unfortunately he's wiped him out. But again, to get into that position, Gordon, having all the experience he has, the only guy to blame for that's Callum McGregor. Because even though it's a potentially harsh first booking, the second one is 100% Stonewaller. So, you can't blame him for that. He can then manage that game better, Callum McGregor.
01419511025. Let's see what Tommy in Greenock's thinking tonight. Tommy,
how you doing, panel? I have 2 points, but can I just say something about the referee and the comments that were made? It doesn't matter what John Kennedy, Hugh, Alec and myself all think, if whether the first booking was harsh or not. The laws of the game are there, and it depends on how the referee interprets them. So, and Nick Walsh is a FIFA ranked referee, so his decision's good for me. If that's what he thinks it was reckless, that's good enough for me.
Oh, Tommy, I know you're not new to this show, but if we've just to accept every refereeing decision without talking about them, we'll be out of a job in a week.
I'm not saying that, Gordon. It doesn't matter what we think, but the only person that matters is the referee on the park. If that's his decision, you just got to live with it. You can comment on it all you want, but it's never going to change. So me and you can watch a tackle or whatever we want to call it and interpret it in different ways, but it's the referee interprets how he sees it, and it gives you a decision. You've just got to live with it. But anyway, my main 2 points are John Kennedy made a comment about a fortnight ago about Lee Griffiths, how he was trying to break into the Scotland team, and then he doesn't play him yesterday, which baffles me. And the second one is everybody's on about how bad Celtic have been all season. Well, their team's not really changed from last season. They've actually strengthened it. I think it's other teams have figured out how they play and just put their own team out in the park to combat that, like their zonal marking in the penalty areas and stuff like that. They've worked out a way of getting around that. So I don't think it's Celtic have got so bad and everybody else is just.
Sorry, Tommy. In what way have Celtic strengthened from last season?
Well, they spent $5 million on a goalie. They brought in Ayete. and they brought in a couple of loan signings like Duffy.
I get that. I get that on the numbers, and forgive me for being dramatic with the comparison, but somebody might spend £5 million for Hugh Keevins to play up front, but that wouldn't necessarily be them strengthening the team, would it?
Well, okay, I'll say they're allegedly strengthening. They thought they were strengthening the team, but the core of the team is still the same team that's been there for the last 2 or 3 seasons. Yeah,
and the thing is, Hugh, even if that is true, though, that doesn't factor in the fact that players who are already there can get worse and can underperform, and they have various other factors.
The story of the season, domestically and in Europe, has been of underperforming. It was highlighted by Neil Lennon very early on, and then he continued to pick the players that he had slaughtered. So they did not strengthen. They bought but did not strengthen. And with regard to Griffiths, I was surprised that he didn't see any match time at all. Particularly surprised when Odsonne Edouard's replacement was Mikey Johnson. I was surprised, although Edouard was not at full tilt for the time he was on the park, he did get a goal, and he remains your best prospect of getting another goal. And to then replace him with Mikey Johnson and leave Griffiths on the bench, who after all had scored in the last league game at Aberdeen, was mystifying.
Tommy's right. The substitutions were a bit strange for me also. I actually thought Edouard did better than he has done recently. You look at the chances he created throughout the course of the game, he got into some good areas. He gave Simpson a bit of a tough time. He managed to get the goal. I understand if you want to take him off and try and chase the game, but Mikey Johnson played up front against Rangers a couple of years ago and it just did not work. And for him to overlook Griffiths having saying that he should go to the Euros is beyond belief, because, and I think that's just a young inexperienced manager getting caught up in the game and making wrong decisions to bring wrong players on.
I feel like the debate around Lee Griffiths just goes on, and every week there's a new development on it where he comes on and scores, so people then say, see, that shows you what he can do, and he should be playing. And then yesterday when changes are to be made, he doesn't get put on. I mean, it's now become not, how could it possibly be any consolation to you, Alex, when it's a full season? You've not really managed to lay a glove on Rangers. You've managed one draw. You've certainly not managed to win the game. If you're John Kennedy, would you be still a little bit concerned at the way they're passing up chances? I'm not saying they had dozens and they deserve to win the game before anyone twists it, not saying that at all, but when you look at Turnbull's header and El Yunusi's header, Forrest, a confident Forrest, why does he chop that one back and then get it blocked? Edouard seems to dilly-dally the one he goes down the right side of the box. Right, there's been a bit of a theme in these fixtures this season that Celtic in front of goal don't look convincing. I said at the top of the show, Gordon, Celtic's front three, obviously Edouard scored, didn't quite deliver when the big moments came, because as you rightly said, he came down that inside right channel. Gordon had a great opportunity and then he drags it badly past the far post. El Yunusi had a header. Turnbull, kind of ducked out it a little bit. I thought he'd need to put more purchase on it, so that was another good so they carved up open some good opportunities. But when you look how prolific Rangers were, Gordon, and I think that's the difference between the two teams. That's a team that's in fire at the moment, really on the top of their game, whereas they just look as if they're lack of confidence. Some of them actually look as if they want to get out of the club, Gordon. They're at the end of the road now. And listen, I've been in clubs that have struggled over the years, getting towards the end, and you think, here we go, and it's difficult to raise a gallop knowing that you're going to be out the door in the summer, because the contrast is there even yesterday. So take Roofs, it's great imagination from him. That's not even a chance, is it? I mean, it's a ball fired into his chest. It's not,
improvisation. He knows exactly where he is. He does
brilliantly. Morelos, he's got Scott Brown in front of him. He has to make something happen. The nutmeg, Christopher Ayers, and then it's an emphatic finish as well. So the difference in what happens in those 18-yard boxes keeps deciding these fixtures. It's key moments, Gordon, and you're absolutely right. I was thinking about giving Morelos the goal of the weekend, because to pick up the ball in that inside right channel of the box, nutmeg, and then your weaker left foot to drill it into that top corner was tremendous for Tommy, him. Good to speak to you. We've got Michael, who's a Celtic fan in Townhead. He's not happy. We're going to speak to Michael next.
0141 951 1025. This is Scottish football's league leader, Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Hugh Keevins and Alex Ray are here. They're desperate to hear from you on the phones. No Twitter tonight, remember. Our social media blackout continues until just before midnight this evening, so we're old school on the phones. Just before the break, I told you Michael in Townhead was hanging on the line. I did say you weren't happy about yesterday, Michael. I wonder if that's an understatement. How would you sum up how you're feeling about things?
Hi guys, yeah, yesterday was just a calamity, disaster, just gutless. That's probably the most apt word for Celtic yesterday. Gutless. There was nobody in the team prepared to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. Nobody prepared to stand up and be counted. They just accepted it. I mean, Scott Brown, it was his last game, and thank God, because he was an embarrassment yesterday. That second goal, I mean, Morelos absolutely ripped him apart. And, I mean, yeah, Celtic, they can't defend or attack. They created 4 or 5 really good chances. Tumble's header, El Yunusi's header, but none of them were taken. At the back, I mean, 38-year-old Defoe absolutely ripped Stephen Welsh apart. John Joe Kenny, if I had £1 for every time John Joe Kenny's passed the ball back this season, I think I'd have enough money to buy Celtic. I'm being honest with you, he's that bad. And yeah, the bigger picture, I mean, I said 2 weeks ago, after we get beat, the board need to announce a manager now, give the fans some clarity. Personally, I think, with regards to managerial situation, I think the reason there's not been that much movement is that I think that Lobwell and the Celtic board were holding out for John Kennedy. They were thinking if we can beat Rangers once, maybe win the Scottish Cup, win a good few games, finish the season strongly, they could probably try and sell him. But now they can't do that. And yeah, just with regards to John Kennedy as well, I mean, I'm not going to call him a charity case or any of that, but I think for himself he should leave the club, because he's been said that he's this great coach by Brendan Rodgers and co. Prove it. Go to another club, build your profile for yourself more than anything, because there's no point in him staying at Celtic where nobody really rates him.
Oh, I'll go back to your point about gutless. They've been gutless all season. That's how you go out of the Betfred's Cup at home to Ross County. That's how you lose 8 goals home and away to Sparta Prague. So it's been a problem all season long. But all the players that you have had a go at, Scott Brown, John Joe Kenny, etc., none of them will be there next season, Michael. So you have to address the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is, when will a manager be appointed? If it's Eddie Howe,
I think Michael kind of did say that. He felt his theory was that he felt they were hoping that John Kennedy would have done well enough in the interim so that they could offer it him, and now he doesn't think that's a possibility.
I think John's been put there, as I say, as the human firewall. He's taken the brunt of the blame for everything, while others have disappeared out of sight until the heat dies down. But the question has to be asked now. I mean, we're 11 weeks away from the European Champions League qualifiers starting. You've got, out of the team that started yesterday, I think 4 players will make it to the start of next season.
Is that what it is? 11 weeks until the qualifiers?
Yeah.
So what? How many weeks will that be until Celtic start pre-season? It's 5, say,
no, from the 15th, when the season finishes, a week Saturday.
Right, so 7 weeks.
5 weeks after the season finishes, the 21st of June, I think Celtic are back in.
So what's that, 7? Is that about 7 weeks?
Just short of 7 weeks, yeah.
For example, is Eddie Howe waiting until the 2 Rangers games are out of the way and then it's safe to come up? Whatever the reason, if Eddie Howe is to be the new manager, why has nothing been done yet? I mean, the two Rangers games are now out of the way. Why wasn't he announced this morning?
I never felt John Kennedy was ever an option, Gordon. I've heard this argument, if he won the Scottish Cup. I just didn't think that he is management material at that level. You look at his win rate, and again, this is hindsight, but I felt this way throughout the course of his tenure. I think he's at 37% win rate, which is,
I know, but is that
ridiculous.
Not Michael's point though? Celtic,
Michael
feels that
Celtic,
Celtic were hoping that today you could be sitting here saying, oh, John Kennedy's got a 75% win rate, great, we can offer him the job.
Yeah, but it's okay saying that, but I never felt as if he was a realistic. I always thought he was a stopgap. I'm actually surprised. I said on the show, I thought they should have cleaned the whole place out when they were changing Neil Lennon rather than keep John Kennedy in there. I say just bring up McManus and Tam McIntyre for the younger guys, a clean slate, clear the decks. A lot of Celtic fans feel that as well, Gordon, and that's what I felt at the time, because he was complicit in what was going on at that particular time. It's such a bad run of results. We've seen them preside over 2 wins in 12. You're not telling me that he's not had a big part of what Neil Lennon was doing at that particular time. So for him to go in and even have a whisper of actually trying to become the Celtic manager, I never seen that happening.
Michael, you mentioned gutless, and that comes back to players aren't trying, or the players' attitude isn't right. How much of it do you really think is that? And then how much of it, because you've referenced some other players there, how much of it is that guys actually aren't good enough, and in certain positions Celtic have unfortunately for them, downgraded significantly in the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, downgraded significantly. I mean, I said it a few weeks ago again. We let Kieran Tierney go and Michael Lustig and replaced him with Laxalt and, John Joe Kenny. I think the major problem this season, though, is that the players haven't played as a team. There's been too many players who have put themselves before the team, who, of this season of all seasons, what it meant, that this shows that they just didn't get it, that they play for Celtic, that they're not fans, they don't get, the fans' expectations, a lot of them. They are only playing for themselves. There's not really any that I could really say, apart from maybe, David Turnbull, who's been trying, but a lot of them have just really put themselves before their team, looking for big moves, and not playing as a team. And again,
if that's the case, then Michael, if that's the case, going back to what Alex was just saying, are you not inclined to cut John Kennedy some slack? Because if the team are as gutless and as bad as you're making out, then it sounds like he's got one hand tied behind his back.
I know, but the thing is, Neil Lennon left 10 weeks ago. The players haven't picked it up whatsoever. There's been no improvement whatsoever. And of course, the players need to take responsibility for that. But John Kennedy as well, his tactics haven't been great. I mean, yesterday he took off James Forrest, and that was a width gone. Didn't give Lee Griffiths any game time. He put Sorrow on eventually when he's had, the past, 7-8 games, he's not featured at all, and he throws him into that. And it's like, he's not a Celtic class manager. He's not, got any real tactical nuance, in my opinion. So I think that for himself, he should go to another club, build his profile, prove himself, because, as I say, nobody at Celtic rates him. Nobody.
But in terms of understanding the season, as you put it, Michael, Peter Lawwell's a born and bred Celtic fan. He understood the whole bit about 10 in a row, but he didn't get rid of the manager quickly enough. Neil Lennon, Celtic's both are born and bred. He understood 10 in a row, but he just couldn't do it. So John Kennedy was only there to hold the fort, but he's been holding the fort for 10 weeks, including 2 games against Rangers, in which, to use your expression, Celtic have been gutless. It is all symptomatic of a season that started to go wrong very early on, and steps were not taken early enough to see if they could alter the course of a season that was going downhill rapidly.
Michael, thank you for taking the time tonight. Let's bring in David, who's in Cumbernauld. What's your point tonight, David?
Evening panel.
Hello.
Is this I was on a few weeks ago and I was saying I wasn't very sure about Kemar Roof, and he's absolutely proven me wrong, so I'd like to take my words back against Kemar Roof. If that's the Kemar Roof that we're going to get next season, I'll want to see a lot more of him. He was absolutely electric on the game in the Old Firm. He was absolutely brilliant. You can see his positioning was there. He was just on one of the games that you get as a striker where you can't do nothing wrong. What was missing was for that last goal. Maybe Alan McCoy said something in Gerrard's ear to get a bath.
Funnily enough, David, good of you to take it back and admit you were wrong, but I don't even think David has to. Alex, loads of people were. It was a fair comment to say that Kemar Roof's level had dropped. We know he had injuries, and the performance the St Johnstone result last week, lots of people calling for Scott Wright. I don't think that was controversial, but did we see a reaction from Kemar Roof yesterday?
Yeah, I think you're right, Gordon, what you say about Kemar Roof. I think he has struggled for injuries throughout the course of the last couple of years. If they can get him through the summer, get a good pre-season and try and get him to hit the ground running next year, because listen, this guy, he's a goal scorer, he's got trickery, he's intelligent, he scores really intelligent goals as well. So I think he's was it 16 and 34 for a guy at stop-start. It's not a bad ratio. And I think what you're seeing is, on the back of last week, I think it looks to me as if it's a guy that needs a couple of games, Gordon, to try and get up to a level of fitness, a level of sharpness. And he was very much at the top of his game yesterday.
Yeah, I saw the television highlights last night saying, Kemar Roof was man of the match, and I know Stephen Davis got it in the studio. The guys in here were unanimous yesterday that it had to be Ryan Kent.
Yeah, well,
what was your take? You were there, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I thought I actually thought Ryan Kent was unplayable at times. He is terrorising. He's picking up pockets that he's terrorising the Celtic midfield. He's going central, he's going wide, he can go inside, he can go outside, and he's just really at the top. He is at the top of his game at the moment. But when you look at Davis, when you look at Roof's contribution, when you look at the deliveries for the fullbacks, and I thought Glenn Kamara was excellent. I spoke to you guys at the last break. One of the key things for me yesterday was that Celtic didn't pick up enough second balls in the defensive area of the box, Gordon, and Rangers managed to do that. The first goal, Kamara wins it, which keeps it alive. I think it was the third goal with Kemar Roof's header. Stephen Davis wins the header to keep it alive. So they were picking up key balls at the right moment.
David, do you want to come back in?
I just think he's one of the players. You can see he was missing that match fitness. Maybe that played a part in what I was seeing. But I'd totally take my words back. Kemar Roof, he was absolutely brilliant yesterday. Morelos was too. So there goes my wee point beforehand that I wasn't sure about them. Hopefully we can keep a hold of both of them when the summer transfer window comes. But I've heard rumblings and rumours going about all our players. But that's the difference with Rangers. We've got players there that are worth a lot of money that we've not paid a lot of money for, and it just shows you how good that backroom team has been getting them in.
Hugh, David will need to learn. You don't advertise it when you get one wrong. You just move on. You forget that it ever happened. And
how many times do I have to say it? Go from one mistake to the next with no loss of enthusiasm. I mean, I'm chuffed because I said during the match Brian Kent is unplayable today, and Alec has just used the same words.
Is that the endorsement you were looking for? Right, okay, David, thank you.
Beat the Pundit with the Scottish Sun.
For the best football news and opinion online, thescottishsun.co.uk/football.
I've got a funny feeling you two will be very much playable on Beat the Pundit as opposed to unplayable. So let's see what we've got tonight. 0141 951 1025. If you've never heard it before, it's very simple. You come on here, you answer more questions right than Hugh or Alex, and you win yourself a signed ball. You do also need to call before 7 o'clock though, so don't hang around. Your chance to beat the pundit is up next.
Tackle the headlines. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Monday night's show means we look back on all the weekend's big talking points in the company of Alex Ray and Hugh Keevins. As you can imagine, in this part of the world, a lot of the first hour taken up by reaction to the game at Ibrox yesterday. So if you've got any further thoughts, if you agree or disagree with what you've heard so far, please pick up the phone and let us know what you think. Other than that, come on you St Mirren, Hamilton, Motherwell, Kilmarnock fans, the bottom six was very, very exciting at the weekend. The race for third is on as well. So whatever you've got, whatever you took away from the weekend, 0141 951 1025 and let us know. We'd love to hear from you, but we will do this first.
Beat the Pundit with the Scottish Sun.
For the best football news and opinion online, thescottishsun.co.uk/football.
Beat the Pundit time. The guys just before the news were telling us who was unplayable yesterday. We speculated that they would probably not be unplayable at Beat the Pundit, but Scott in Cardonald is going to try and take them on tonight. How's it going, Scott?
Aye, good mate. How's it going?
Not bad at all yet, can't complain. Are you confident? Are you one of these that's absolutely no idea how it's going to go and you'll just take your chances?
I'm a wee bit confident.
Good, yeah, I like that. I think that's the perfect amount of confidence, you, because any more then you're setting yourself up for a fall. Any less, why are you wasting our time?
I don't like the sound of Scott already.
Yeah, he's balanced. I knew you wouldn't. Right, heads it will be Hugh Keevins, and tails it's Alex Ray. Where's tails? Alex Ray up against Scott from Cardonald. So Alex, I'll give you something else to listen to, just so that you don't know what Scott is giving it. Scott, I'll put 30 seconds on this clock. Just answer as many right as you can, and if you don't know, the key is to pass quickly and move on, okay?
Yep.
Good man. Yeah. 30 seconds starting now. What was the score the last time Celtic beat Rangers?
1-0.
Who did Partick Thistle beat to win Scottish League 1 last week?
Pass.
Name any player who started their first Old Firm game of the season yesterday.
John Joe Kenny.
Kilmarnock keeper Colin Doyle plays for which international side?
Republic of Ireland.
Who's the top scorer in the bottom six?
Kilaffery.
Name either side declared joint winners of the Tunnock's Caramel Wafer Cup.
Pass.
Okay, let's bring Alex back. Alex, can you hear us?
Yes.
Same set of questions to you. 30 seconds on the clock. Your time starts now. What was the score the last time Celtic beat Rangers?
1-0.
Who did Partick Thistle beat to win Scottish League 1 last week?
Pass.
Name any player who started their first Old Firm game of the season yesterday.
Jack Simpson.
Kilmarnock keeper Colin Doyle plays for which international team?
Northern Ireland.
Who is the top scorer in the bottom six?
McGrath.
Name either side declared joint winners of the Tunnock's Caramel Wafer Cup.
Raith Rovers.
And which Celtic player received his one and only England cap in 2004?
Thompson.
Okay. Scott, what do you make of the competition?
Nah, he's beat us.
Think so?
He buckled under the pressure, man.
Not, you know what one, don't you? Number 3. I know, honestly. We'll get to that. What was the score the last time Celtic beat Rangers? It was 1-0, the Scottish League Cup final, 8th of December.
That was an absolute guess.
Remember it? I think you both guessed it, but you both got it right.
Christopher Julian.
Who did Partick Thistle defeat to win Scottish League 1 last week? Falkirk.
I know now.
1-1. Name any player who started their first Old Firm game of the season. You had the choice of Jack Simpson or James Forrest. I'm afraid, Scott.
John Joe Kenny, man.
Neither can I, to be honest, but I thought I didn't want to rub it in. Right, Kilmarnock keeper Colin Doyle plays for the Republic of Ireland. Scott got that, so it's 2-2 after 4 questions. Who is the top scorer in the bottom 6 in the Premiership? It's Devante Cole on 10.
Wow.
We spoke about it at the weekend, though.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about overall. So what is it? League goals? Is that what you're saying?
League goals, yeah.
Did you say league goals? And the question?
Well, in the bottom 6. So you're not, you're not just going to randomly.
Okay.
One before.
How many's McGrath got in the league, Chris? He can't be far off it. We'll get back
just
to
rub that in. Brilliant.
It'll be about 1 in it, I reckon. Name either side declared joint winners of the Tunnock's Caramel Wafer Cup. Raith Rovers or Inverness. Alex got it, and he even had the chance to rub a wee bit, and he got Alan Thompson.
Yeah, Tomo, yeah.
4 for Alex and a 2 for you, Scott. Wasn't bad, just not quite good enough. Hard lines.
Unlucky, pal.
No worries, man. Cheers, guys.
Good man. That was Scott in Cardonald. Jamie McGrath, 8 league goals. Devante Cole, 10.
Look at the smile on your face.
There is 9. Oh, it's 9 as well. There is one in
Chris,
it.
no way today going to a flying.
It doesn't matter though, because
one goal for Devante Cole before Graham Alexander got there, and 9 since Graham Alexander.
There you go, magic touch. 01419511025. That's the number you need. On that topic, it was a huge afternoon in the bottom 6. Kilmarnock, Kyle Lafferty's back fit, what a boost. They're the team in form. They lose at Motherwell. Hamilton Accies, surely this is the season. This is the season they're going to go. They go and win at St Mirren. Meanwhile, Ross County beat Dundee United. They just battered Aberdeen the week before. So there is an air of unpredictability and high drama in the bottom 6. Now just 3 points separating the 3 sides, and they have to play each other as well between now and the end of the season. Also in the race for 3rd, Aberdeen look very much back in it. They won, Hibs lost, and they've still to play each other.
It's only 3 points, Gordon. I said 4 at the weekend. I think it's 3.
3, yeah.
So it is all happening. If you've any thoughts on those or anything else from the weekend, do pick up the phone. 01419511025. It was a great Saturday, Hugh, wasn't it? Very dramatic.
Yeah, I think in terms of Aberdeen, it's been a good time for Stephen Glass. However, they play Hibs next, and Hibs know that they can take care of business that time, and I don't think that Aberdeen can anticipate getting anything at Ibrox on the 15th of May. When Rangers get handed the championship trophy, they are going to want to mark the day with a resounding victory. So well done, Stephen Glass, but you're going to finish 4th.
I think Stephen Glass would like to go into that last game with a fighting chance, though, Hugh. I think that's his objective at the moment, to try and get 3 points, draw level, and then obviously try and get something at Ibrox.
We're all set up though, aren't we? We kick our game quite a lot, and it deserves it at times. But what the split in the playoffs does for drama for us at this time of the season is great. Like I say, not only is it tight, but these teams now all need to play each other.
Well, I think, as you say, Gordon, Ross County versus Hamilton next Wednesday up at Dingwall. Oh, what a game! The magnitude of that game. You know,
I mean, if fans could get in, would you go up? Would you go up? I mean, is it that good?
Let me tell you, if you were sending me up here, means the Shugster, and we were getting a lot
off your own back. No.
I would go, yeah.
Would you? Right.
Yeah.
If
you fancy sending me up?
If we had a quote of the weekend to go with the howler, the goal and the result, it would be Brian Rice, who said if they survive this, it will be like climbing Everest in your flip-flops.
Yeah, we'll maybe hear from some of those managers in a bit later on in the show. I want to hear from you on those topics as well. If you're a fan of the bottom 3 clubs, how nervous are you? Try and describe to us what it's like, because it's easy for us to say, oh, this is great drama. Maybe not if you're in the thick of it. So let us know. 01419511025. Let's go back on the phones just now though with Stuart in Baillieston. What's your point tonight, Stuart?
Aye, well, Rangers, it's took a novice manager, Steven Gerrard, to get where we are, right? That's 3 years. How long do you think Celtic's going to take, the way Hugh and everybody else has talked about it, Scott Brown's away. He was the sort of the guy that could motivate the day on Sunday, and I felt for the guy. And I'm a Rangers supporter, but how long do you think it's going to take Celtic to go back to where they can compete?
That question can't be answered because, first of all, you need to know who the managers are going to be
and the players.
And who he's going to sign. So, I always go back to the season when Dick Advocaat beat Celtic every time out and won the league by 21 points. Celtic then appointed Martin O'Neill as manager, and Celtic won the league the following season by 19 points. So there's a 40-point turnaround. So it depends on who you appoint as manager. It depends on who you sign. It depends on how much money you're willing to throw at it. So your question cannot be answered tonight. It can only be answered when you find out who the manager is and who he's bought.
Okay, but given that we don't know that, how difficult,
very difficult,
do you think it will be for Celtic to, say, win the league next season?
I think they're already behind because they still have not confirmed who the manager is, and until such times as Eddie Howe is there with a Celtic scarf over his head having his photograph taken, it is not certain. So we're still waiting on confirmation. We're still waiting on a summertime of unbelievable activity, both in the sense of selling players and buying them. You're asking an awful lot of any manager against a Rangers team settled, confident, and with players already in for next season.
Should we not learn lessons though, Alex, from what we've seen in the last couple of seasons? How many people in March, when things were shut down and the way Rangers were and the way Celtic were, how many people saw this coming? I don't think too many. And remember those hammerings that Celtic used to give Rangers? And Stuart's right. Yes, it has taken Steven Gerrard 3 years, so I'm not saying it was overnight, but we used to get calls after those games saying Rangers were 5 years behind, 10 years behind. But football just doesn't work like that. It takes a couple, on one hand, for one team to get a couple of things right, whilst the other one is getting things wrong, and they start to move back towards each other. And that's what we've seen happen relatively quickly. I know people say Steven Gerrard 3 years, but for a lot of those 3 years, Celtic were still dominant, and then things changed.
Yeah, I think part of the process, Gordon, you've obviously seen Rangers not do so well at the turn of the year. And what happened in the summer there, Steven Gerrard identified that they were very light up front. So what first thing he did was he went and bought 2 strikers. So now he's got options there. Then he added more central midfielders because they were getting a wee bit light in the middle of there as well. They were going with 4, maybe 5. Now they've got 6 internationals. And at the back they identified centre halves. When Katic went out, they went out and got Balogun, another international. So what they've done is they've strengthened in key areas. And that has carried them through the course of the season, because I think even if you look now, I think they've got about 7 or 8 injuries, Rangers, and they still manage to churn out a decent level of performance. So going back to Celtic, I think they've got an unbelievable job. I can't emphasise the essence of time. Time is everything for Celtic at the moment, and as the weeks pass by, I think Celtic are getting further and further away, because you have to get the manager in, you have to get the director of football. Then do you then go back to the actual database that they have, who was compiled by Nicky Hammond, when you look at his last transfer window, which was really poor? So again, who's actually signed the name? Are you going to go in that recommendation? And none of these people are in the key positions. Hugh keeps talking about the manager is vital. And if they have identified Eddie Howe and he's waiting to the summer, I think that's the wrong tactic for him. I think he should be in now.
So Stuart, to read between the lines a little bit, you ask the question to the panel, you are a Rangers fan, is it your opinion that after yesterday and after this season you think it will take years for Celtic to catch up? Is that what you're getting at?
I think they'll be taking their coattails. And see, this season has been brilliant. No, here's Hugh Keevan saying carnage. He's not said it all season. It's been brilliant. And every time Rangers play Celtic, he used to say carnage, it'll be carnage.
It's just carnage the other way now though, Hugh, is it not?
Yeah, I don't remember saying carnage, but anyway, obviously I keep on saying this is the season for Celtic when, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. They are having the kind of time that Rangers used to have when Brendan Rodgers was in charge at Celtic. The roles are now completely reversed. They can do nothing right. But on a serious note for Celtic, Rangers are well in advance of them and set up for the start of next season. Not a problem for them. There's so much work to be done that you would have to say that unless the new manager, whoever he may be, can work a miracle on the transfer front and hit the ground running, then Celtic already look second favourites for next season.
Is there a lesson in this then for Rangers, Alex? Because don't take this is not my opinion. We get callers all the time who say Celtic took things for granted, they fell asleep at the wheel, they took their eye off the ball, whatever one of those cliches. We didn't keep building when we were strong. So surely that's now, can that serve as a reminder to Rangers? Yes, you're the dominant force right now, but if you just hang around and hope that it's going to continue that way, if you make a couple of bad decisions, it won't be long in shifting.
Gordon, see if you go back to the start of this season, I think if you asked most Celtic fans, they would have been delirious with the transfer window. He says it was the best transfer window in many a year. They managed to keep hold of all of their assets, and listen, we're standing here 1 year down the line in the benefit of hindsight, Hugh. Some of the assets that Celtic had a year, 2 years of the contract still remaining. Edward, you get an absolute fortune for. Christie, fortune were Christie, Ayer. So they're four guys that their value is really depreciated, and they've threw everything at it, and it really has backfired. And
not even necessarily because they're playing worse, even if they are, but they're just further on in the contracts anyway.
I know what I'm saying is, Gordon, see, 2 years you can you can get top dollar.
That's what I mean. You're talking contractually rather than performances.
Well, to be fair, Gordon,
it might be both.
I think that is both. So you look at it, these clubs will no pay the money they were going to do last year.
Stuart, thank you. Let's bring in Kieran, who's a Celtic fan in Greenock, and see what his take is on things. Hi, Kieran.
How you doing, Gordon? How's the panel as well? How you doing, lads?
Good. Yeah.
I was saying to the producer, I think whoever the manager's going to be, they've got a very, very tough job on their hands. I think it's been left far too long. Champions League qualifiers will come round, and I see us not qualifying yet again. After that, the manager will be under severe pressure to build a team that's got a challenge for the league. So I heard you obviously talking about rebuilding, how it took Rangers 3 years under Gerrard to finally get the league title. Celtic obviously enjoyed, but memory stroke 12 trophies on a bounce, I think it was. And I don't see Celtic winning the league next season with the rebuild job they've got at the moment. Just wonder how you feel about that.
I know it's a broken record with me on this topic. However, Celtic have no league game this weekend. If a new manager is coming in and you've got that length of time, surely you would give the fans an inkling of what's going on, if not the actual appointment of the manager. This has gone on for so long. It is reported that Eddie Howe met Dermot Desmond 4 weeks ago. What precisely can be holding this up?
See, just to try and provide a tiny shred of balance. See, now that we are here and everything is gone, I mean, official, there really is nothing left to play for. There's 2 games. Would waiting to the end of the season now make any difference? I get that a few weeks ago you would say no, get it done, but we're now talking 2 weeks. Does that make any difference?
For me it does, because if you're talking about 11 weeks until the Champions League qualifiers begin, then 9 weeks before the Champions League qualifiers begin, you only bring in a manager. They are understanding that he's going to have to provide more than half a team full of new players.
Gordon, see if you just give yourself 2 weeks, it would allow you to actually look at the personnel who's there. Now there's been question marks. The new manager has to have a look at Lee Griffiths. It would give him a chance to have a look at him, see where he is in that circumstance, and then it would also have a chance to look at fringe players, because you know that Edward, Christie, Ayer, they're all gone. Scott Brown's gone. Put Sorrow in, gives you a chance to clap eyes on these guys and make an assessment. Now you might not do that in 2 weeks, but you start to form a kind of opinion.
I do accept that. So what I'm about to say is not trying to contradict that, because you're right, that's something you can only do if you're in the building. However, I wonder if are we getting hung up slightly on this number of weeks? Because how many weeks ago did you say Eddie Howe met Dermot Desmond?
4 weeks.
Right, so if he in his head decided then, or even before that he was going to take the Celtic job, he's going to be thinking about it already. He's going to be moving things around behind the scenes. He's going to be trying to come up with a plan and analyse it. You know, he's not going to if it's next week, if it's the week after, he's not going to walk in on that day and go, right, okay, I'm going to start thinking about Celtic now. I assume that if it is going to be him, then his thought process has already begun.
If that is the case and his thought process has already begun, why can't the club announce it?
Well, I think obviously the report is about trying to get staff together and negotiation taken away.
Gordon, you're absolutely right, because you become absorbed by that. I'll give you an example. Paul Ince spoke to me about Notts County. That night I went through the whole squad, where they've been playing, how many games they'd played for. I looked at footage, even though we hadn't even been employed. So you do start taking that in. But there was nothing quite like being in and working with the guys.
Kieran, I don't know how if the guys have put your mind at ease at all, or what else do you think is what else are the challenges coming up facing Celtic immediately?
I mean, you said about the final two games. It doesn't matter to the players. I mean, if the players yesterday were absolutely lethargic, like, they were getting done. The greatest respect, Rangers have been amazing all season. If Celtic take their chances in the Old Firm, you're talking about maybe three each the past few games. But the defence is just an absolute shambles. Like, they're getting done with easy step overs. They're just not interested. And I get that some of the players obviously will be moving on. Edouard, Ayer, Christie. Christie, by the way, is taking a lot of criticism, but he's playing out of position the whole season. If we had signed a few wingers, I think Nicky Johnston, I don't think he's good enough at the moment. Maybe he should go out and loan. I know what happened for Christie, and that done wonders for him. Same with Ayer when he went to Kilmarnock. So I think, if Howe is the manager to come in, why is he not being announced now? If there's something that's stopping him from coming in, then he's not the manager that we're wanting. I said to the producer that I would go for Sean Maloney, but I know he's not had a proper job. I know he's been in number 2 for Belgium, but when you see him looking on sports and stuff, he talks a great game. Seems to know what he's talking about, and he's obviously got connections with Celtic. So I would try and go for him if Eddie Howe's not interested 100% in a job.
Yeah, I think, you know, he clearly has a very sharp tactical mind, A, on the way he talks, and B, the type of company that he's keeping at the moment.
Sure. While there is no hard and fast announcement, people like Kieran are going to bring up other names like Sean Maloney or whoever.
We are beyond that, though, are we not? Should we be?
How do we know? Because why? I do appreciate your point.
Eddie Howe still remains Celtic's target, and there is nothing to suggest that that's not happening, other than the fact that it hasn't happened yet.
If he's
that doesn't mean you're back to square one and plucking names from here, there, and everywhere and saying he should be the manager.
If he's piecing together his backroom team, which was the last report we heard, then are they hesitating, or are we able to speculate that they're having second thoughts about coming to Glasgow? So for me, the whole thing is mysterious and unnecessarily mysterious. And to introduce the mercenary note, how do you sell season tickets to people and they don't know who the manager is, and they don't know who he's signing, and they don't know who's leaving?
Kieran, thank you very much. 01419511025. More calls and a full-time teaser next.
Taking your calls on Scottish football. 0141 951 1025. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
It's that time of the night where Hugh Keevins and Alex Ray need to show a bit of teamwork. They need to come together to try and answer your question, the questions that you send in for the teaser. That's the beauty of it, because you lot have got much better knowledge than them, and invariably they struggle between now and the end of the show to complete your list. But I think this one is very, very doable.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what you've just said there.
It's topical, it's doable, and it was sent in by Stephen in Coatbridge. So thank you to Stephen. Fulltime at Clyde1.com. That's where you need to send them. And Stephen says, before Callum McGregor, can you name the last 8 to be sent off in an Old Firm game? Told you, topical, doable.
Lafferty.
Before Callum McGregor, the last 8 players to be sent off in an Old Firm game.
Morelos,
yes.
Simonovic,
yes.
Let me think.
Fraser Forster,
no. Not within the last
Jeremy
8.
Frimpong.
Yes, okay, we'll leave it there. That's a good start. Before Callum McGregor, can you name the last 8 players to be sent off in an Old Firm game? You've got Morelos, Frimpong and Simonovic, which means you've got another 5 to get, and you've got between now and the end of the show, so even you two can't mess it up from here. Just one more reminder, full time at Clyde1.com if you want to get your questions in to the guys. Let's look back at some.
Beat on.
Oh, go on then. Right, fine, okay. Beat on. Right, you're halfway there. Even you two can't mess it up from here. I'll repeat it.
Believe me.
Let's hear a bit from some of the managers involved at the weekend. Brian Rice, was he the big winner over the weekend? He was certainly one of them.
Absolutely delighted to come here and win the match and get a crucial 3 points. I said yesterday, we'll need to do what we need to do, then we'll look at the situation. Ross County's won, so it makes our result even better. And Kilmarnock's lost, so it's dragged them back into it as well, and it's going to go right down to the last game. I think you can only ask for things to be in your own hands, and like I said, we've done well today. I think we deserve to win the match, so we now go and prepare for the Ross County game, which is going to be another big match. There was some young lads thrown in there today. Young Regan Mimiu, I don't think he started the game this season, maybe one. Had to put him in today for his composure in a hectic match, and he's went in there and responded. But people are throwing their bodies on the line there today for us, and that's what we need at Hamilton every week. So delighted with the 3 points today, because this is a hard place to come to. St Mirren have got a really good squad, really good players, a lot of good young players coming through as well. So it's a massive 3 points for us today.
The win for Hamilton against St Mirren, the win for Ross County against Dundee United, and the defeat for Kilmarnock against Motherwell. How big a weekend was it at the bottom in the race for survival?
Completely surprising for me.
Really?
I thought that St Mirren would beat Hamilton Accies. I also thought Dundee United would beat Ross County. I had misgivings.
This isn't saying very much, remember, based on your track record.
Yeah, I know, but it was very surprising for me, and they are to be commended, Ross County and St Mirren. Tommy Wright, the Kilmarnock manager, spoke about criminal defending on the part of his team. It's a bad time of the season to be struck by criminal defending. So it is absolutely fascinating, and although Brian is suspended from the touchline, he's going to Dingwall. You're practically on the touchline when you're sitting in the front row of the stand there. So the fourth official will have a lovely time of it with Brian on one side and Byogi on the other. Quiet it won't be.
Yeah, you have to say, Gordon, it was big results for Ross County and Hamilton at the weekend, and it just gives them a fighting chance. I think Brian Rice said that he wanted in his own hands. He's got an opportunity to go up to Ross County. I think it's an unbelievable game next week, and if they can win that, it puts them in a brilliant game going into the last game of the season, where they take on Kilmarnock through at Hamilton.
The experience of having been there and done it, does that help Hamilton, or do we overuse that? Because I'm thinking about the team. There might not be too many. There's a lot of youth there.
Guys like Dougie Emery in the midfield, he was decent, wasn't he?
But you never know. Maybe there's a sort of feeling that runs through the club, that siege mentality. This is what we do, and people will write us off. And might that be quite easy to buy into? Does that give Hamilton any sort of edge over say a Kilmarnock, who have been in the top flight I think my whole life? Would that be right? I think they have, and the thought of going down to them must seem a whole lot scarier than if you're at Hamilton Accies.
It's handy to use in the pre-match team talk. We're always been written off, we're only Hamilton, and go off on the rant. However, if you've a bad night, it won't help you. And at that bottom six, you just never know what's coming next. You get a great result. Mickey Mellon was talking about looking for Dundee United to be the kind of team that can go 2 games in a row showing consistency. 2 games in a row. I mean, that's how inconsistent it is in that bottom six.
Here's what's interesting about it as well, Alex, because at the weekend,
I know what you're going to say,
they're about to play each other, which is interesting. But at the weekend, the 3 relegation threatened teams played the 3 teams who are safe. However, 2 of those teams have got cup semi-finals to look forward to. Jim Goodwin made changes. Did that help Hamilton? Is that a pain in the backside if you're Tommy Wright?
Yeah, well, listen, I don't think Tommy Wright can comment on other teams. What they do is their own business, Gordon, and I think it did have a bearing. We were in the studio on Saturday and someone says, I'm sure Jim will use the old kind of cliche, they didn't do themselves any favours. You've got to ask question marks of the manager, so you can say to yourself, I gave a real good performance last week, pick me for the final, and it didn't seem to be too many, whereas Dundee United played more or less their full team. and it's spectacularly backfired. So they'll be getting into that thinking, where do we go for here, Dundee United?
Yeah, I also liked how we were all saying in the studio, St Johnstone are ringing the changes. He's dropped Xander Clark, he's given him a rest, and it turns out he was just injured. A much more simple explanation. So there we go. We are certainly looking forward to those games. I suppose Kilmarnock's misery was heaped on them by Motherwell, Alex, who just kind of quietly going about their business. I'm not sure people, unless they've heard us use the stat or seen it elsewhere, the third best team, the third most points since Graham Alexander took over. So only Rangers and Celtic have got more, and they are, like I say, they're finding a way to win games.
Were you checking that 5:30 in Saturday morning when you were doing your stats pack?
I knew that off by heart, that one.
I have to say, Gordon, if you remember back to when they were kind of still struggling, I always felt as if they would get out. I thought they'd enough firepower. I thought they had good character throughout the squad. They've got guys like O'Donnell, Declan Gallagher, wee Alan Campbell in the middle of the park. Plus they've got guys who can change it at the top end. I think Defante Cole's been brilliant recently. He scored a lot of goals. And if he can keep the majority of that squad, Gordon, they can then kick on. He'll be looking to try and use his contacts from down south. Graham Alexander, lower levels.
Okay, 01419511025 is the number. Adam in Eaglesham has dialed. Hi, Adam.
Hi guys, how you all doing?
Good, thank you. What's your point?
Great. Yeah, I've just been hearing a lot of chat about Eddie Howe, and obviously we've been hearing it for a while now. And I don't know, I feel like I'm the only one that's sort of thinking, is he ever going to come up here? Is he still in such good standing in England that he might just hold out and think, I can maybe get a team in the top six? I'll just hold out a wee bit longer. I just think when managers have done well in the Premier League and then maybe had a bit of a downturn, that's maybe when they'd come up here. If you think about when Celtic last got a top manager in Brendan Rodgers, that happened to him. He'd done well, had a bit of a dip, came up, fortunes turned, and he went back there. I don't think Eddie Howe's going to come, and I think for that reason, I just wonder what the panel think about that.
Until he gets here, Adam, you are perfectly entitled to your suspicions. You're perfectly entitled to speculate.
Adam's basing this on, though, is his stock too high, essentially, for Celtic, and could he get a better job down south? What do you make of that theory?
You see, that again, that's what people will think. Because of the length of time this has taken now, they'll think he's waiting for Roy Hodgson to announce his retirement, and hopefully he can get in the Crystal Palace job.
No, so maybe I'm overthinking this, right? Maybe I'm being pedantic, but I do think those are different. I think Adam's point, let's forget how long it's taken, whether it's 1 week or 10 weeks. Adam's more general point is, I think he even mentioned top six. Is his stock too high? Forget the length of time that it's taking.
What, he's too good to come here?
Well, Adam's suggesting that he would. Adam used the suggestion of a top six job in England. Could he get one of those?
No. Unless I'm greatly mistaken. I mean,
there's been speculation about Tottenham, but I don't even think he's at that level, Gordon. See, the fact that he's actually spoke to Celtic, it suggests that he's not above what Celtic are offering.
But the longer this goes on, you can have any theory that you like, because in the absence of clarity, you will get speculation.
Yeah.
And my only point about the whole Eddie Howe business is, how can it possibly take this length of time? I
don't think Adam's the only guy that's thinking, we might not come up here. I think a lot of people are thinking that.
I'm not sure about the comparison though, Adam. You have suggested, and correct me if I've picked you up wrong, that Brendan Rodgers only came up here because his stock had fallen to a certain point, and you're not sure that Eddie Howe's has fallen that far. But I mean, Eddie Howe has been at Bournemouth, which, a certain level of club as well as he did. They were eventually relegated. Brendan Rodgers, before he came to Celtic, just missed out on winning the league with Liverpool. I'm not sure that Brendan Rodgers was at this all-time low that he had to come up and take pity on our poor league up here.
No, that's a fair point, actually. I mean, yeah, when I say stock had dropped, he'd been around for a while down there. He'd been at a few clubs and he'd done, a good job. Whereas Eddie Howe, he plays a certain type of football which is fairly attractive at a team like Bournemouth. And, there must be clubs, good clubs, thinking, actually, if he was to bring that here, I think he'd do another turn in the Premier League. And it's not, I'm not knocking Celtic here, it's not about that. I just don't think he's the right fit for that reason.
The only thing I'd let Celtic away with on this is if Eddie Howe has said to them, look, I do not want to be associated in any way, shape or form with anything that has happened this season. I will continue from my home to look for players and to assemble in my mind the kind of player I want to bring to Celtic.
Would that be acceptable? I mean, to use the example, Brendan Rodgers could easily have, said to Leicester, "Oh, well, I want to try and stay and finish, win 10 in a row, whatever it is, or finish this season, and then I'll come and join you." But Leicester clearly said, "Nope, it's today. Hurry up, get your bags packed."
And Brendan exercised his prerogative to say, right, I can't let this chance pass me by, and so he went. But as I say, in the absence of clarity, you'll get speculation on all manner of levels, from suspicion that he's waiting for a better offer to come down south, or that he does not want to be part of this season at all, so that he comes in with a clean sheet of paper.
Or is it just that the negotiation is taking a while? And I'm not saying that that's acceptable and everyone should just say, "Oh yeah, that's fine, don't worry about it," but I'm not sure we should disregard the possibility.
Well, I would say this to you, Gordon, in my estimation, if they are still negotiating after all this time, forget it. His heart's not in it. And Dermot Desmond is the one who supposedly looks into the eyes of people and ascertains in his own mind whether they want to be at Celtic or not. And Goose Hiddink didn't get the Celtic job because at the last minute Dermot Desmond thought, nah, I'm going elsewhere.
I'm just a little bit confused though. So if parties are genuinely trying to get all the pieces in place, whether that's Eddie Howe or his backroom staff or Celtic or whatever it is, if that's taking its time, you say forget it. But if he's turned around and said, "I don't want to be a part of this season," that's somehow more acceptable. That seems less acceptable to me.
You have his commitment. To my way
not
of
much
thinking,
commitment if you're saying, "Nah, I'll just chuck it when the times are tough just now and we'll deal with it in a sunnier day."
We always go back to the optics, don't we? He is committing himself to Celtic, but saying, "Look, I'll work away in the background and I'll get things organised, but I'm not coming up there to be tainted with this season, if you like." So I would understand that.
That's what I mean. Do you think that's more understandable than that they just can't quite get all the staffing issues and so on sorted yet? I think that's more understandable than that.
I think if they are happy with it, if the club accept that, then okay. But at the moment, no one knows for sure if Eddie Howe is still coming here. Until we get clarity, we'll get speculation.
Listen, we're kind of just batting a few things about. If that's the case, that Eddie Howe's agreed in principle, then what's to stop Celtic saying we have agreed with the manager in principle and he will be in at post in situ when the season finishes? That way you buy time with the season tickets. So that would be the answer to that one.
Adam, we'll give you the final word. You can just put everyone in their place and round it off nicely.
I think you guys are having. There's no chance Eddie Howe's coming. Full stop.
Okay, we'll see. I'll keep your number just in case, because
that sounds like something I would have said. Because
we're very quick to pull Hugh Keevins up for his bad prediction, so I'll give you a call back if he does get the job. Is that alright, Adam?
Perfect, yes.
Good man. Adam in Eaglesham, he's not coming. Full stop, says that. That's us told. Right, anyway, on this teaser, before Callum McGregor, can you name the last 8 players to be sent off in an Old Firm game? You've got Beaton, Morelos, Frimpong and Simunovic.
Centros?
No, he's a bit before that.
Halliday?
Yep, he counts.
Right, okay, that's 5, isn't it?
Okay, you've got 3 to get. We'll get them next.
Number 1 for football in Glasgow and the West. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Into the final part of tonight's Clyde One Super Scoreboard with Alex Ray and Hugh Keevins. They're trying to come up with the answers to this teaser, and I owe you an apology. The question from Stephen in Coatbridge is: before Callum McGregor, can you name the last 8 players to be sent off in an Old Firm game? You've got Beaton, Morelos, Frimpong, Halliday and Simunovic. Did you say Senderos?
I did do.
I forgot that I've got another bit of paper here and his name is on that, so that's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. Senderos is one.
So what's many have we got left?
2 to go.
2 to go.
Arfield.
What about Jordan Jones?
Yes, can't believe you
the
forgot
volley.
that one.
No, the volley.
Course,
the moment of madness.
Moritz Bauer.
Right, 1 to get. So you've got about 10 minutes or so to get it. And again, one more reminder: full time at Clyde1.com. That is the address you need if you want to hear your question used on the show. We'll bring the curtain down with Paul, who's a Celtic fan. Let's quickly hear from Stephen Glass, because the race for third is, Well, I think it's certainly back on. If anyone thought it was off, look at the gap now. Only 3 points between Hibs and Aberdeen, because Aberdeen won at the weekend against Livy and Hibs lost at home to St Johnstone. Here's Stephen Glass.
We've kept it alive. I think at half time we knew the result, we knew the score at Easter Road, so it really gave us a carrot to dangle in front of the players. Can you set up what is now a massive game next Wednesday? We know what we need to do, we know what we want to set up for the final day of the season, but I'm just delighted for the players that they got the reward for their work rate today, and a bounce back, like you say, from last weekend. The group knew what the performance was last week. We knew it immediately after the game. We knew what it meant. We knew the opportunity missed, but you can't do anything about it. The only thing you can do is focus on this game right now, and they did it. I kind of knew from in training the reaction that was coming, and to be honest, I've not been able to ask for any more from the players since we came in. Even against Dundee United with a poor performance, it wasn't to do with a lack of effort. To me, there was other things we talked about after the game as a group, but looking forward, I think I'm delighted with what's here. I think it's a test of character, the 90 minutes when you come here. They're a good team, they're well drilled, they're tough to play against, they've got good players. I'm not sure they get the credit they deserve as well, but you know what you're coming into. But our group stood up to it, and the last 10 minutes is an extra effort, if you like, but the test of character was walking in the door here today, I think.
That's what I like to hear. That's what the end of the season is all about. None of this, we only focus on ourselves. We knew the Hibs score at half time, and that was a carrot to dangle in front of the players.
I've thought of a great subplot. Final day of the season, Aberdeen at Ibrox.
I know
Celtic
where this is going.
Go to Easter Road.
Yes.
Bruni scores the winning goal for Celtic that gets Aberdeen third place and arrives at Pittodrie a conquering hero.
There we go. He's got it all figured out. But fair play to Aberdeen. Jack Ross will be frustrated, Alex. I'm sure there was. He said, not a lot between the sides, but everyone's seems to be favouring a St Johnstone Hibs Cup final. Was that a rehearsal? If so, Jack Ross will hope that he can change something between now and then. Yeah,
you think Hibs, with the firepower they have, will be favourites to go on and lift the trophy, but you have to say Callum Davison's appointment's been absolutely tremendous, Gordon. What he's achieved so far has been tremendous, but semi-finals, it's just a one-off. You never know.
Hibs have lost 2 semi-finals this season so far, so that's why you have the expression Hibs'd it.
They are still in the driving seat though for third place. Do you still fancy Hibs to get it? Yeah, I think partly because of the goal difference, Gordon. I think it's favourable in Hibs kind of direction, and but I think if Aberdeen go on and win that, it makes it very interesting, because I think if you look a couple of weeks ago, Hibs looked as if they had more or less guaranteed it. We spoke about this recently, Gordon. It was 3 wins and 16 in the league since the turn of the year. For Aberdeen, it's been an abysmal second part of the season. Let's go back to the phones and speak to Paul, who's a Celtic fan. How would you sum up your feelings as a Celtic fan today, Paul?
Hi Gordon, hi Fano. Disappointed with yesterday, but I think it was much expected. I don't think it was I was really surprised, to be honest. But my call tonight, Gordon, it's about the appointment of the new manager and the new management team that's going to come into Celtic. Now, I know there's a gas panic on with everybody about we need to know. What we'd like to know, but personally, I would rather I found out when it was done and dusted and it's done right. Now, the board have made that much a mess of this year, and years towards this, I think that they're going to take their medicine, and I think that Dermot Desmond will be hell bent on getting it right this time and no announcing anything that can't be followed through with. I also think as well, it's a different time now. We seem to forget that there has been a pandemic on. So if you are trying to move guys up from down south or whoever it is, or guys from the continent, it's a bit of a different time that we don't always think of. We think about football as just get them in, but if there is a big team of guys coming in, they need to think about bringing their families in and stuff. And it's a different world now. It's a different world from when Celtic got Brendan Rodgers. So personally, I would rather they've done it the Don Mackay way, and they don't announce it until it's done. Now, I've not got any inside information, but I believe it will be done. I believe it will be done soon, and it must be done soon because they need to sell season tickets. But again, we don't know what's going to happen with the season tickets. It's a different world we're in now. But I would rather find out when it's done and dusted, and nothing. I don't want to hear rumours. I want to hear who it is when it's done, the deal's done.
But at the same time, with respect, you said you have no information, but it'll be done soon. How do you know?
He says he thinks it'll be done soon. That's just his feeling. It's just his opinion. That's what he said.
Well, I cannot for the life of me fathom what's going on here. With the greatest respect, Paul, you mentioned season tickets. Of course that's a factor. But for it to drag on, and it is now dragging on.
What about Hugh's, Paul's theory though about how difficult everything is at the moment? Could that be a factor?
Well,
Stephen Glass came from America.
If you're talking about a man coming from Bournemouth to Glasgow, I don't think that is a major problem, COVID-19 related.
Man, I'm talking about several men. I'm talking about.
Well, they're all coming from Bournemouth, apparently.
Well, how do you know that? That's just it.
I have no information, but this is what I think.
Sorry, there you go.
Just like yourself, I have no information, but this is what I think.
All right. Okay.
You said you had no information, Paul, but you think it'll be done soon. So I just think that this has taken far too long. I think the whole idea of a club as big as Celtic in a season as bad as this one, going 10 weeks with a stand-in manager to take all the flack, 10 weeks, and that the qualifiers for the Champions League start in 11 weeks, and Celtic will be losing who knows how many players and need to sign who knows how many players. There's no manager, there's no director of recruitment, and for the season ticket holders it must be perplexing to say the least, Paul.
Is this the week, Paul? Go on, finish the show with an aimless prediction based on very little, because that's all we can do. By this time next week, will we be having a different conversation?
Yes.
There we go. I don't mind. See, he stuck his neck out. That's fine. That's what we're here for. Thank you very much.
Paul gets a call back, the same as Adam then.
He
if
does.
It's not done by next Monday, we're on the phone to you, Paul. Reverse charges.
Look forward to you.
Nice one. That was Paul on the line. 01419511025. You'll probably need to write that one down for tomorrow, I would imagine. I wouldn't want to waste your time by shoehorning it in at this late stage of the show, but I'm sure it will be a busy week whether there is a new manager in the East End of Glasgow or not. So take the number down and make sure you give us a call.
Am I too late
tomorrow.
to apply, do you think?
You're a good communicator like Sean Maloney. I think you could do well.
Yeah.
Well, one of them talks a good game, certainly. I think we'll leave it at that. Anything else you missed from the weekend that you want to clear up? No, have we done a lot? Have we gone round the houses?
Listen, the two bottom teams get the 3 points when it mattered. I thought they were massive. That's the reason why we both gave a result of the weekend, because they're fighting for their life, they're scrapping, and they're trying to do their club justice and stay in the league.
And I take your point, Gordon, about the split and the excitement it creates. If you have a league that goes to the last day, down to the wire, then that's a league worth watching.
Absolutely. Okay, let's finish off with this teaser then. Before Callum McGregor, can you name the last 8 players to be sent off in an Old Firm game? You've got Nir Biton, Alfredo Morelos, Jeremy Frimpong, Jordan Jones, our own Andy Halliday, Jozo Simunovic and Philippe Senderos, which means you've 7 down and only 1 to get. Are you going to get it?
I've got 4 names.
Oh dear.
Right, here we go. Wee Holt,
no.
Big Hill,
no.
Joey Garnett,
no.
McCrory.
Yes, he saved it as the final one. Saved the best until last. Ross McCrory.
That's another easy one for us to.
Do you remember it? I think it was Hampden, wasn't it? The cup game.
Absolutely, yeah.
There we go. You can't remember it that well if you gave me the other 3 names first though.
Yeah, but I like to save the end. The best to the end. Drama.
We did get there in the end. Well, drama is one thing that's not been missing from Scottish football this weekend. Rangers maintaining that unbeaten league run and an undefeated season against Celtic with the 4-1 win at Ibrox. How tense is the battle at the bottom? Ross County winning, Hamilton winning and Kilmarnock failing to win means we're all set up for an incredible couple of weeks, and you can include the race for third in that as well. Aberdeen and Hibs, it should go right to the wire, and we are all for it. Make sure you join us at 6 o'clock tomorrow with Gordon DL and Roger Hanna. I'm sure there will still be some lingering thoughts from the weekend's game, maybe that one at Ibrox, and you never know, Scottish football never really does dull days. So we'll see what tomorrow brings at 6 with those two, and in the meantime you might as well stay right there because Meg McHugh is up next.